The Philippines has been gripped. Parts of the country have now become
Stranger to terrorists he studied in.
Patuloy pa rin ang pagbomba ng militar sa Marawi kontra sa Maute ISIS.
Ang mga kanyo na kadalasang pinuputok sa malayuan ay nasa frontline na ngayon ng Marawi, ginagamit laban sa mga terorista sa layong 100 metro.
Is less than half a kilometer from where I'm standing, and you can frequently hear.
Hello, I'm Gabriela and welcome back to another learning episode which is under crisis management, and today we're going to focus on the Battle of Marawi. It is also known as the Siege of Marawi and the Marawi Crisis. It was a 5-month-long armed conflict in Marawi, Lanao del Sur, Philippines that started from May 23, 2017. The leader of the ASG is Nilon Hapilon swore allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in 2014. Ansar Khalifa Philippines and the Maute Group followed shortly thereafter. In 2016, these newly allied groups cooperated in several operations including a bombing in Davao City and the short seizure of the Maute Group's hometown of Butig by 300 militants. Violence was furthered by the presence of armed groups, private militias, and illegal firearms. The Islamist militant groups operating on Mindanao including ASG, the Maute Group, Ansar Khalifa Philippines, and the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, all with long-standing ties to either Al-Qaeda or Jemaah Islamiyah, albeit for opportunistic reasons. The terrorist goal is to establish a caliphate where the ISIS or Daesh will rule. The seizure of Marawi needs to be understood against a background of existing separatist insurgency, poverty, marginalization, and lack of inclusive governance. The militants' plans for taking over the city exploited its physical and political geography as well as Muslim grievances, including a profound sense of disconnect from the Philippine state and its predominantly Christian identity. The government, especially the AFP or the Armed Forces of the Philippines, works out to strengthen the forces, developing its intelligence and tactical aspects. In part of that strategic planning, an annual Balikatan exercises are being commenced. The AFP and U.S. Armed Forces greatly benefited from the different trainings, exchange of knowledge, and cooperative activities. It served not only as a venue to further enhance capabilities to our military organizations, but also as an opportunity to help other people in less fortunate communities in the country. Ultimately, Balikatan brought out the best to our force as they commit towards advancing regional security and stability, sustaining bilateral ties, and strengthening defense partnership. The exercise also encompassed humanitarian and civic assistance, community relations, and subject matter expert exchange of events. These include extensive renovation projects at several elementary schools, one-day veterinary and medical clinics, friendship visits to schools and orphanages, and a multi-day mental health conference for providers. Balikatan, which means shoulder to shoulder in Tagalog, embodies the alliance and friendship between two countries. This kind of activity would enhance regional readiness and response capabilities to real-world challenges. On tactical level, which is described by press as protracted siege, is divided into 3 stages. A day of fortuitous events, weeks of evacuation, rescue and regrouping, and months of deliberate clearing. As for the longer-term fight against extremism, what stands out are the military and moral dilemmas. Keeping in mind the political consequences of any action are crucial. The gap that the Philippines has in terms of intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance capabilities, or ISR for short, must be utilized and develop its improvement. It is why the Philippines has moved forward on acquiring equipment like drones within its own military modernization efforts, while at the same time drawing on the capabilities of other allies and partners during the Marawi crisis. There is an urgent need to develop field technologies that allow urban clearing operations with less risk to civilians and soldiers. Promising risk reduction technologies exist, but they haven't been acquired. Raising awareness of the tactical challenges and moral dilemmas of urban warfare is necessary to insulate against political impatience and short-sightedness, particularly in response to media pressure. Another is to strengthen the continuous balikatan exercises is helpful indeed in the comparative and exchange of information, tactics and strategies from one country to another. To prevent similar outbreaks of violence, broader initiatives should also be pursued in step with military efforts. Technology appears to offer new options for protecting soldiers. We should pursue this to review the suitability of current and planned strategies, that some new capabilities might significantly reduce risks to soldiers and civilians in urban combat, such as specialist reconnaissance with the use of modern technology and engineering platforms. Their value extends to remediating the battlefield after conflict and responding to natural disasters. The brutal seizure of the city brazenly announced on social media with raised index fingers, black flags, and the smashing of Christian idols was over. The self-proclaimed leaders of ISIS in Southeast Asia, Hapilon and the Mauti brothers, were dead, and most of their fighters reportedly killed or in custody. The city was liberated on 23 October 2017.